When it comes to matters of the family and politics, the individual has to choose if it's better to be there or not to be there. That is the question. To be or not to be with the family. Yeah. Yeah. To be or not to be with one's inner creative impulses. That's something the individual has to assess, whether they're onto something or not. Yeah. Whether they're doing something of benefit to themselves or to others or not. Yeah. It's very thin, sort of like a razor edge here for the creative. Yeah. And practitioners are the creative. Those who choose to recreate their lives accordingly so that they can contribute more to other peeps. See? Bring more wisdom to other peeps. See? More to say about what they've already done. In terms of lessons learned, yeah, we have a story to tell. It should be full of wisdom, rather than sob stories, which are no stories at all beyond the point. We've all heard those. We need some wisdom. We need to hear something fresh, something regenerated, something transformed. See? Your life is an opportunity for transformation, so breakthroughs are critical. See? Opening beyond what appears is also critical. Having an open-mindedness. Say, okay, I've done this now. I need more. More refreshment, more breakthroughs. Open. See? More bumps and bruises. Say, yes, whatever. I need to move forward. Whatever comes with the road that I've chosen, let it be. Come what may. Openness. You're here, and you're ready, bring it on. Because at that level, it's all good. We're assuming that you had attained the status of warrior by that point, or warrior-S, and you're willing to defeat all obstacles, confront them and destroy them if you can, rather than the opposite. Be defeated, be destroyed, and left in the curb or in the ditch to waste. Okay? No choice in the matter, really, okay? For the warrior class, the wisdom class, see? Which is not about fighting anybody, except fighting your own demons, okay? Putting them to rest. No one else is more important than your demons. So you're saying, you made this proposition in a way, it's paradoxical, where you love yourself, you gotta love yourself, and then you hate what you're doing. That doesn't make any sense. That's like really broken. That's a breakdown. You're ready for a breakdown. You need a breakthrough. That means you need to pull them together. See, you love yourself to do what you have to do. See, and you extend that love of what you have of yourself to doing what you know you need to love, and you should be loving. So that it's about love, it's not about schism. It's not about hating yourself. And try to love yourself. I mean, you have to feel okay with what you are, what you have. But then the question is, what is that you have and what you are that's worth loving? Yeah. So ordinarily, what does an ordinary person have? Was it materials? Right? Or lack of materials, and is wanting materials? So that's suffering. They have to find out how to create that, fill that void. You have to attract that somehow. Not by positive thinking particularly, no, it doesn't come that way. There's an alignment that's necessary for things to come. So you have to learn how to create phenomena. That's what practice is about, cause and effect. You start from scratch. So you go back to nothing, your nothingness, your original nothingness. You start to recreate everything from there. You become the great architect of your life. Right. Or you're open to that happening, so you don't have to make it seem like it's an ego thing. You know, you're doing it. No, you're cooperating with what it is, see? Because you're opening yourself to what it is, so that it could be revealed to you what it is that it needs from you. And we're talking about the universe then. A very abstract concept, but it's everything: breathing, seeing, hearing, perceiving. It's the universe. Living is the universe. It's not like a location. This is the location. The only location that's real. And this location as a center includes all of the extensions, see? The infinite. See? But it's centered upon or from the living being as center, as the sun of your universe, sun of your solar system. So you have to reassess what it is that you are, that you say you are, and what it is that you have when you say you have. You're unhappy about what you have to deal with, or what your work is, and you have to use it as a chalkboard and erase it. Say, okay, now this is what it needs to be. Take creative control rather than being victimized by your fate, your karma, and not doing anything about it. As if you have no power to do anything about it. Which is a lie. Which then it's on the individual to stop pretending to be suffering when you don't have to. Stop pretending to be confused when you don't have to. It's a program, you inherited it. It uses you. It looks good on you, but it's not true. Throw it off. Just peel it off. Garbage. It's all garbage. You. So when you chance upon, let's say, the issue of practice, but you don't really know what it is, right? You've heard about it. And you hear people talking about it, but you're not really, let's say, resonating with it in a sense. I mean, you know about it, and it's comforting to be around the practice. What's missing there is the need for self-mastery. Because if you have any of that in you, you say, no, practice is about getting it together completely, radically. See? The whole life, pulling it all together. No longer is a puzzle, now it's like a salad, or maybe less, a soup. You put all the ingredients. With a salad, you start with a salad, and you put it into a pot, some broth, and it's the soup. Just drink it. Self-mastery is what's missing. We talk about practice, we talk about this, we talk about that, breakthroughs. There has to be the impulse of mastery, which is your impulse to be free. No impulse for freedom, because you're so buried in your own ancestral garbage. See? Slime and sludge, mud. You have no sense of it. So, in the mud, you don't even know you can breathe it. You're breathing a little particle of air. No. You have to find your way to the surface, where you can actually be free to breathe. Practice is about assuming the freedom to breathe properly, consciously, to great effect. Even to sublime effect. Forget about just great effect. That's good. Sublime effect.
How does the impulse of mastery arise?
The impulse of mastery is built into everyone. There's not a being that doesn't have it. It's like the impulse to breathe. The impulse of mastery is the basic and original impulse to freedom. So we all have it in us to want to be free. We sometimes are so confused and so enturbulated by our karmic conditioning and culturing, family culturing, that we don't even know where to look. Because there's no conversation about the impulse of freedom, liberation. You almost have to invent it for yourself. Say, oh, well, I didn't hear that before, but you know what I need, family? I need to be free of this family. I need to be free of all of you for a moment, and I'll be back. Let me find some freedom first, and then I'll come back and break the news to you. I'll share it with you. Nobody wants it, though. Not in those terms. What do you mean you're free to think? You've always been free to think, right? Think what, Grandpa? How have I been free to think? Now I'm free to think. What, free to think like you, Gramps? That's not freedom to think. Or like you, Mom? Or like you? So on and so on, right? Down the line there, relations. No, it's not about you. It's about my freedom to think like me, see? And my connection with the universe, as the heart of the universe, yeah, it's my responsibility to connect with that. And if practice, so-called spiritual practice, is going to do that, great. Because ordinary marriage and relationships, which promise you the whole world through an illusion of orgasmic delivery, is not doing it. It's not going to do it. It's a letdown. Not that it's not fun. Hey, amusement parks are fantastic. But they're amusement parks. You go up, you come down, you pay the price. Then you're back on the street. Sounds like marriage. You have to keep recreating it. That's a certain kind of marriage, which is no marriage at all. It's a game. It's called the I own you game. You own me game. It's not a marriage, it's doomed already. But we're certified and we have rings. Doomed. Doomed. You're doomed to go to the pawn shop when you have to. That's what it amounts to, the pawn shop. You have a good gold ring or a good diamond ring, take it to the pawn shop. Take your money and go, baby. If you're smart. If it's not here, it's nowhere. It's not around here, it's not here. It's not here, it's not here, it's not on your ankles, it's not around your waist. It's here. It's nowhere else. The real is here. You can't see it. So it's not material. You can't look for it. This indeed is not something you can put in your pocket. It's in your chest. And it's in your heart. It's practice. Having the crisis of recognition of what true wealth is practice. So it's not one thing that is the path. Again, if the path is breathing in a conscious way, in a certain way relative to a viewpoint of what is and what isn't, and that means everything. So then the spiritual path is a certain viewpoint. And we have to accept that. That there is a self, but then there is no self. Because there is a self which isn't enough, then we have to say this. There's got to be a no self. Or another self. Right? The other self is always the no self. Because you have one self, and that's the other. You know, that's the self of the other. Yeah? So if you're talking about yourself, and you're talking about other in terms of what? What you want to be? Well, that other is yourself. But if you eliminate the self, say, and you eliminate the other, then you're moving in the right direction. Because then you're letting the universe be what the universe is. It's not really a self-created enterprise. You're moving down the road as a funky jalopy is a self-created enterprise. Because that's what you create, because you're experiencing all your beliefs and BS. Whatever you have faith in, whatever you trusted in, that is a bunch of malarkey, and you know, because it's all about protecting or defending yourself, that means limiting yourself to the infinite. Of course it's going to be a disaster. So you take self out of the equation and you put in, let's say, the universe, or being. Or put in breathing, that's even better. Just breathe. I'm a breather. I am breathing. Perfect. It's true. Now, I am the body breathing and releasing everything all the time. Good practice. Doesn't mean it's a self. It just means the body's doing it by itself. And you don't have much choice in the matter. Unless you want a real fight on your hands. Prevent yourself from breathing. So prevent the body from breathing. It's a pretty huge undertaking. Because the programming is to live and survive to the last breath, without interruption. Ordinarily, normally. But we're not always doing that. We're not surviving. We're living a life of non-survival. That means we are victimized by our own limitations. So we need to get rid of the limitations, and that's like the first proposition when you get to the real path of practice. There's no self, where it's suffering. If you don't have a self, how can you complain about anything? Who did it? If not you, yourself. You need a self to suffer anything. Without the self, everything is like gone. But then everything is here properly. Because the self is not the total. The self is just this tiny little squeak. That's good enough for me. I'm just this. Just a little. When you're defying the reality of the universe being part of your breathing process. So you have to not be egoically big, you have to feel the space of the universe, because without it you'd be dead, but you're not celebrating it as a native would do. You have to celebrate the whole, the universe. You have to dance with that, not just with your own pipsqueak. Oh, poor me. But what about me? Please, can anybody see me? Old bag. You're an old bag when you're doing that. I don't care if you're young or not. You're just an old bag. Who needs an old bag? You don't need an old bag. You need a huge breath, of reality. Space. So then when you get to what practice is about, no self, but equal space. If you don't have a self to be, then you can be any self. You can be every self. If you have not one that owns you, then you're the actor. Then you're the divine actor. You can be anybody, everybody. And then you know you don't have to be anybody or everybody. Because you're already everybody and anybody. You're okay to just be. It is what it is. And you have peace. So you practice from peace in the light that you also, because you have a body, have karmic momentum that's already there for you. And you put it to good use, instead of using it against yourself or against anyone else, which many people in this world have a pleasure in doing that. So these are issues relative to practice. Because what are you getting to? You say, well, I want to take the self-mask off. I want to forget about others because, I'm divided. If it's self-others, I care too much for others, and that's part of a schism. Say, good, put that aside. And then I say, well, what's next, Pete? What's more important to you? Self? If it's not self and it's not others now that you're on the path of practice, what is it? Maybe it's the heart. Maybe that thing you have in your chest has more to do with another universe than you ever cared about, because for the most part you never think about it because it's not broken. Every time you think about your eyes when it's broken, busted, sick, bad shape, ready to stop on you, then the heart becomes important. But as soon as it's fixed, you're back to all the distractions are more important. Practice, the distractions disappear because you know what they are. You say, no, it's not about that. The universe hasn't changed, everything is still there, but you're not aligned to being distracted. You don't make yourself victim of distractions. That's not in the mix. Former mastery system I was with said, no, the masters are on the outflow. They're not taking anything in but light light and God, right? There's some people call it the God light. Okay, call it what you want. And we can take that in. I'm going to have some God light for breakfast tomorrow morning. Wise person, good. If you could do that. I'd rather have it now, though, so I'll have to breathe it in now, because that's the only way it's going to get in my system. Okay. So, good practice then. But what you're doing then is feeling more the total picture, which is what is absent when you're in your little hubble, your little cocoon, as it's called in the Dhamma. Isolated in your, like frog in the well, mind. You know. Did I hear a frog? No, it's far away. Oh, it's in the well. Oh, yes. Hello, Miss Frog. Yeah, like that. Right. So practice is the expanding of intelligence and awareness and heart capacity at the same time. Talking about your brain, talking about your heart, talking about your purpose. So it becomes bigger. And we say it's spiritual, but we better say it's creative, because that's what it really is. Not just spiritual, whatever that means to some people. That means like outside of the material. No, it's definitely the essence of the material. So it has the power to transform the material. That's the spiritual, see? The creative. Whatever it is, depending on your inclinations, depending on your karma, your conditions, see? Your abilities and your drives, put to good use, is a transformational vehicle in the world, see? Whatever it is. So the practice is huge. Yeah, it's a huge undertaking. It's for the creative. It's the mountain climber, yes, sure. Yeah. So to speak, right? The astronaut. And beyond that, it's more than that. See? It's the sound traveler. Okay? So we have to imagine ourselves as a sound traveler, not just an astronaut. That's depending upon a ship. See? No, we have the ship. We are the ship here. You are the ship. You're the sound ship. Nothing you do is without vibration. Without vibration, you have no existence. So you are the sound ship. You are the vibrator. You're the vibrator. You're the living being. Sound travelers. You. Yeah, soul is the power source. What is soul? We're not talking about the medieval concept of soul, an entity that can go to heaven or hell. This is not about that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about soul as awareness itself. Consciousness. Knowingness. Soul. Capital S. Awakeness. Soul is awakeness. Basic awakeness. There's your power source, above all other power sources. And only when you get to practice do you really know what that is and how to use it for the engine it is. For the most part, just like the heart is shut down until real love comes up, the mind is shut down until real inspiration comes up. And real, let's say the ability to be liberated is dormant until the teacher comes up, let's say, or the spiritual friend. And I'm saying it could be anything that you could call the teacher. It could be an animal. And then all of a sudden the animal does something and you just wake up and say, wow. And the animal doesn't know what it's doing. It doesn't think about waking you up. And so the animal woke you up and says, well, what happened to her? What's happening to this person? I didn't do anything but just be myself, so to speak. I'm just a cat, you know, licking my tail or something. And then there's this illumination, mind-blowing, awakeness. It could happen because that event is a cosmic event at this level. Anything and everything is a cosmic event at this level. Nothing is insignificant. It's all significance. Because when you have that kind of awakeness, then you see from an atomic level, so to speak. You see the universe differently. It's all the same appearing, but it's not the same anymore. Your perceptions are not the same anymore. Okay? Something within you has awakened within yourself, within what you see, beyond what you see, and all of a sudden it starts to have an impact upon your life. Okay? And that's what this is about. Okay? So even though the tendency is to revert back to old programs and darken oneself, of course the presence of the teacher is the recovery of enlightenment. Okay? Yeah. We're going back to sources, right? And power sources. The soul is that, and only that. We can say it runs the universe of human nature. Okay? But it remains a dormant function until there's awakeness, and then you start to realize, well, that you are that, and you start to interact with it. It's a conversation with yourself, but not as a self. Not as a limitation, now as a power source. And you find that out eventually. But it's not a theory. Right now it's a conversation. No, but it's a rude awakening. Like earlier. Cinemascopic. Cecil B. DeMille type. Boom! Bam! What? Wow! Yeah. So in the practice, in the process of practice, that means doing the do, balancing out the scales of fate, seeing what you've done, knowing what you need to do, being willing to do it. And all of this, you start to realize that you thought you knew, but you didn't know. So you were being this self that didn't really know and didn't want to know. I said, no, that's unacceptable because infinity awaits me. It's all around me. What's wrong with me? You need to be awakened into what it is. So it's practice. Knowing you don't know. Knowing you're not real until the real is realized. And knowingness as realization are one. I said, that's a long ways off, but that's in the distance, ladies and gentlemen. See, it's down the pike. It's down the road as you step up to enter full realization, catastrophic realization. See? In the meantime, it's the baby steps. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I had that ability. Okay, I can use that. And walking up, saying, oh, okay. So by the time you get up to wherever the up is leading to, you have full empowerment, see, to do what you were here to do. See, as a more or less empowered human being in the spirit of offering service to humanity, not just to your favorites. So as well as your favorites, bigger picture, all beings. So often we come upon these events that we see around us that happened, as earlier this evening, where you had no control. You saw that there was something of a higher thing going on here that almost seems to know you better than you think and know yourself, and knows what you need better than you had prescribed for yourself. I mean, so maybe something of a spiritual intelligence, see, in the background. Enables us to pull away from our dumb self, and be open to a bigger picture of things. Say, well, maybe there's more beyond what I can see here, beyond that, with my limited perceptics. Maybe there's more. I think I will listen a little bit more, and be more open. The Spirit works in strange ways. I think I'm done flying blind. Now I know there's guidance out here. Now I'm flying with my eyes Flying with my hands, and my mind, and my body, flying now, in control. Not absolute control, but in co-control with the forces that be, that I'm at the mercy of, so to speak. The benign forces of the spiritual, the creative forces, that would have each one recovered to their fullness, their sanity, their dignity, their integrity, their harmony, their proper resonance as a universal being. Heart is the universe is the heart. Collapsing the schism. There's no difference. It is what it is. Everything is it. It is everything. And because of that, it is nothing. And in the everything's nothingness, you have your peace.